Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's Cabinet meeting. Season's greetings to everybody. Just to read out the usual evacuation. Fire evacuation procedures this evening. There are no fire alarms scheduled for this evening's meeting, so if the fire alarm does sound, it is real. Can we leave the building by the public exits at the back, so out the door that you came through? Please go through the reception to the War Memorial Park. To those people joining us this evening, don't leave. Please join us outside so that we can make sure everybody is accounted for. The meeting is being webcast this evening live on the internet and will be available on YouTube to look at later. In terms of the microphones, can I remind members and officers that in order to be heard clearly, please use the microphone in front of you and don't move it. It's set up appropriately. And then in terms of mobile phones, can you switch your mobile phones off or turn them to silent, please? Thank you, everybody. We've got first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. I have one apology this evening, which is Councillor Mackay. Honolulu will be joining us, and she is. Declarations of interest on the agenda this evening. Do we have any declarations of interest on any of the agenda this evening? No. There are no urgent matters this evening that I'm aware of. So can I ask you on item 4, the minutes of the meeting held on the 11th of November, are you happy for me to sign those minutes as a true and accurate record of the meeting? Yes. Thank you very much. I shall do so. There are no leader or portfolio holder announcements this evening, so I'm going straight to the papers on the agenda. And we have 2 speakers this evening for item 10, which is the climate and air quality strategy. So I'll take that paper first and be respectful to our public speaker who's joining us this evening, Miranda, so she gets to go up first. But to start with, could I ask Chris if you'd like to introduce the paper? That would be superb.
Thank you very much, Leader. Good evening, everybody, officers, members, and visitors. So, yes, we have a new strategy or a revisited strategy to bring forward. So, by way of sort of background, the climate change, as we all know, and the air quality, it affects everyone in this borough. Obviously the air we breathe to how the future will be, hopefully, that we will have some control. The strategy we have before us tonight presents an updated approach and ambition to tackle these challenges, how we as a borough can help to tackle these challenges head on. And it follows a year of hard work with officers, the technical experts, our partners, councillors, various groups we've had, and residents to help update this strategy. Of course, we first adopted it in 2021. When I started this update process a year ago, my aim was to put more focus on bringing down the borough's emissions as this council nears its carbon neutral target for the end of this year. So I'm pleased to say that the council and what we can actually physically do ourselves is still on track to meet that aim. And we'll know if we've made it by next summer. That's because we have to wait for official figures to come in. And we will get those figures and be able to hopefully declare some good news. Now, the borough at large, if you like, everywhere in the borough has made great progress. Since 2018, the emissions of the whole borough have fallen by a quarter. Now, that's the biggest reduction of any area in mainland Hampshire. So I think that's something that, whether we knew it or not, we should be proud of. And that's thanks, of course, to the efforts of people who live and work here. So this updated strategy aims to build upon this positive action and progress it further. And really, for us, it includes that we are going to lead by example to stay on track to meet our target, we will also continue to enable and inspire others as best we can to make changes too. We want to build on our good track record, including being named earlier this year by the charity Climate Emergency UK as the joint best district council in the country for how well we collaborate with others on climate action. So I think that's something we should pat ourselves on the back. And as an aside, in our consultation that we did with residents, of the respondents we got, where we actually declared we were going to set the target to be net zero by 2045 from 2030, of the 42% of the respondents that did not actually agree with our proposal, a good 60% of them disagreed that the council should be taking any action at all. So it's a much smaller portion actually disagree with delaying the date for the reasons that we've stated. And again, the change that we put forward was shaped by the communities, companies, councillors, a cross-party task and finish group, and this updated strategy will map out a challenging but we believe a more realistic pathway that would still meet the borough reach its net zero targets, certainly ahead of the national 2050 aim if all goes well. So we've also put ambitious goals in place, but we are introducing indicative milestones to actually track our measure against what what our strategy is suggesting. We've got new partnerships. We've got the NHS, housing associations and businesses who monitor these, and we're all acting together. So it's a refreshed approach for how this borough cuts the carbon and makes the air we breathe cleaner and protects our environment, our borough, and of course our communities. But what I thought I'd just do in addition, briefly, is highlight what we've achieved so far. This is a bit of an advert, I suppose, for the borough and the people who work within it. But we've, of course, put climate change at the heart of everything we do. We're taking steps to cut our own carbon footprint. We power our offices with renewable energy. Solar panels on buildings. Our community building project rollout starts this month. We're helping to shape an all-new electric community at Manydown. We've swapped the fuel we use in our mowers, sweepers and bin lorries to a low-carbon biofuel. And again, we mustn't lose sight of what we're doing in the biodiversity sphere. Along with 251 local volunteers, we look after over 300 hectares of meadows, parks and other green spaces. Of course, this all absorbs carbon and provides food and homes for wildlife, which will all support nature recovery. And we put 50 electric vehicle chargers in so far, with more to come. We've introduced electric hackney cabs and incentives for other taxis to reduce their carbon emissions by becoming electric or more hybrid. We've also created a first-of-its-kind green team. They are there to give a tailored help to cut carbon. These advisors have been very successful. They've so far spoken to over 10,000 people and visited over 1,500 homes and businesses. So we're nearing our goal, as I said earlier. Hopefully we're going to make it early next summer. And we've also played our part alongside the community efforts to live and work more sustainably to help bring down those emissions, which we've said have shrunk by a quarter. But there's further to go. We know that. We help our borough. We want to go greener, faster. And I commend this paper to the Cabinet. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. That's appreciated. Miranda, would you like to come forward? So on the thing in front of you, on the right, you've got the two buttons. It's the right one you want on the microphone in front of you. Yeah, you're on.
Thank you. I welcome the Council's commitment to climate adaptation and mitigation and thank Councillors Tom Blintuck and the climate team for our recent engagement. I am disappointed that the Council has rolled back its target to 2045, but understand why. We acted too late with too little commitment. This is a lesson we must learn. 2045 is the bare minimum we must achieve, and the current strategy is unlikely to achieve a decarbonised Basingstoke by 2045, let alone earlier. Here is the reality. Emissions of greenhouse gases cause climate change. 90% of these gases come from burning fossil fuels to provide the energy we need for transport, heating and electricity. We can't live without energy, but generating it is destroying our environment. To resolve this, we will need two things: radical improvements in energy efficiency and that 100% generation of electricity from renewable sources within our borough. The draft strategy is bold on efficiency, targeting the retrofitting of 87% of buildings, installing 61,000 heat pumps with 84% of our vehicles being electric. This is encouraging, but it's less than half the answer. The strategy is woefully silent on the critical question: where will this electricity come from? Electrification of heat and transport requires us to generate 2 to 5 times the electricity we currently use. The strategy's aim for rooftop and car park solar will generate less than 5% of what we need, and that's before we account for new homes, growth in AI and data centres. If Basingstoke is to prosper, we need a bolder strategy. To meet just 50% of our future electricity needs, we need more like 160 megawatts of rooftop solar, 500 megawatts of ground-mounted solar and 75 megawatts of wind farms, 20 times or more than in the current strategy. We also need a vastly larger grid. Currently, we're rejecting local renewables when we should be planning for them. Without a bigger grid and renewable regeneration, we will not reach net zero and our economy will not thrive. I urge the Council to revise the strategy to reflect the full scope of the challenge and to seize the opportunity for Basingstoke to lead and not lag in the transition to a truly sustainable future. This is the ambition we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Miranda. Appreciate it. Okay. Right, we have one councillor contribution this evening, and that's from Andy. Councillor McCormick. You know the score, Andy. You're okay.
Thank you, Leader. So much of what I might have said has been said already very eloquently by the previous speaker. Climate breakdown is happening already. Storm Bram is happening. Parts of Devon and Cornwall have had more rain in the last 48 hours than they would normally expect in the whole of December. And there's no guarantee that we won't get any more rain this month. We're only on the 9th month. There have been a series of completely outside normal experience disasters that have been happening worldwide due to changes in climate, like the Valencia floods of 2024, which many people in Spain didn't even deem possible until they happened. And it was the regional government and local authorities that got scathing criticism as a result of that, with multiple losses of life, people trapped in their flats, in garages, in basements. The Maui wildfires in Hawaii 2023, Indian heatwave 2024, North American heatwave a few years ago. Those are just 4 examples I could take from maybe 50 or 60 catastrophes that have been happening around the world. I looked at the table, page 110 onwards, and I got the distinct impression that there's a lot of things here, despite what's been said about how cooperative we are as a council, almost like resignatory statements that they're not our responsibility, it's the county's responsibility, etc., etc. Be that as it may, we are in the position we are in now. We have 85 other councils in the UK that are still committed to their 2030 target. Some of them have done a lot more work than us and progressed a lot more. So I'm thinking Glasgow, Leeds, Brighton, a whole raft of unitary authorities that have got the ability with a full scope of local authority services, and in many cases, like Glasgow for instance, their own housing stock, to be able to effect that change. And I would like to urge the cabinet members who will aspire to be in the new council, when that takes shape in a couple of years' time, that we need to revisit that then and look at accelerating our responses. It always was a stretch target. I was the one who moved that motion in 2019 to declare a climate authority emergency. We always knew it was going to be difficult, mission impossible, to get our emissions down to such an extent that we would be carbon neutral by 2030. Nevertheless, it was one of those targets that we shouldn't shy away from, because the consequences of inaction or insufficient action are so dire. And we're already seeing that with the increase insurance premiums people are paying in various parts of the country and parts of the country where they won't get insurance or new policies due to flooding. So I think the approach we should take should be different. We shouldn't be relaxing to 2045. Instead, we should be maximising the percentage completion by 2030. And if we are going to go ahead with this strategy, we need to modify it to make sure that we do maximise our percentage completion by 2030, because I think we need to be much more public about the grants that are available, new electric vehicles, solar panels, heat pumps, all these things that the public can get. Some of them are government grants, some of them are other grants that can help with the initial cost, massive investment to make their homes carbon free. And they will reap the benefits of that.
And
because
fuel
is so high at the moment, their bills are so high. I realise I'm out of time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Andy. Chris, would you like to respond to the speakers first?
Thank you, Leader. Well, firstly, I'll just go in the order. Miranda, thank you very much for your comments there on behalf of Martin. Appreciate that. Yeah, it is very much a tough challenge. Totally get into the fact that we have got to work to reduce the energy consumption, to get people's change of habits, and that is not going to be easy, but we're doing the best we can, and I think we will up our game. I'll come back to Councillor McCormick in a moment. The renewables, we have this opportunity in our local plan. We've been with our policies, we've been quite ambitious, we're very ambitious with some of the house insulation standards and energy consumption of houses. And I want to see what the possibility now of getting this a little bit more where we can get more renewables actually in the borough, in the right place, in the appropriate places. There is a lot of information, and the team are working on sites and areas that could accommodate the amount we need. And I note from the newspaper articles that Martin Heath has written that it's only the same area as our golf courses. So whether we can combine both, that's an interesting theory, but we won't go down that route. But we are working in terms of on the grid. One of our partners, and we're working with SSEN. It's their network, the energy grid provider, the local providers, local network teams. They're starting to map out the energy needs, and we are. When I say working, we're also learning that they've started to do this, and they have started to ask questions that they've not asked before, as in, what power do you need? You wouldn't kind of credit that wasn't necessarily a great topic, but they've realised that. They've strengthened their looking ahead, and we're in line with them, working with them, and we're starting to look at developing energy mapping. It's an important thing so that we can at least, inform them of what provision they need to be looking at. So, you know, trust me, there's a lot going on that we're working with. It can't necessarily be written in the strategy because we're working with partners. That's what we mean by working with partners. So hopefully that gives you some confidence that we can start to deliver. But Councillor McCormick, so I totally share your passion and potentially disappointment that the targets have ebbed away a little bit. I think it's being realistic about what we can do. We've got to. It's pointless having targets that we just know we're going to. It's like we know if you bang your head on a wall, it's going to hurt. So we are going to do as much as we can by encouraging others to do it. We need others. We need the grants. Exactly. I will take that on board. That we make sure that our grant schemes are fully. Maybe we have to look at some way of making it even more. The information more available. The Green team do a great job, but of course they only engage with those who want to engage with them. So I take that on board, definitely. And yes, emergency planning, we're pretty good with emergency planning, but that is what I personally our way and how we deal with it. So that's going on in the background. Support us, and then we will drive this forward in the community. And let's get started. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. I'll come to Gavin first, and then I'll.
Yes, thank you, Chris. An excellent strategy, builds on the previous one. I appreciate there's some upset around the fact that the date has moved, but there's been absolutely no dilution to the commitment and energy going in behind delivering net zero as soon as we possibly can. Realistically, that's not going to be until 2045, or maybe we can do it in 2040, we'll try, but we certainly won't stop trying. I think there's a reality perhaps that we didn't all consider when we first supported this, the previous plan to 2030, and that is how much of it we can control and how much we can't. 25% comes from domestic. We don't own any houses. There's 70,000 homes in the borough, and whilst our local plan policies can make sure all future houses are built to a much higher environmental standard, the 70,000 homes we've got are still there, and realistically we're not going to get them all retrofitted in the next 5 years. It's going to take a lot longer. We know the housing associations can't do it. We know some private homeowners aren't in a position to do it, and the rental sector is going to be a challenge as well, persuading them that they need to do it when they're not living in those properties. 50% comes from transport. We've made all our vehicles as green as we can, but there's a hell of a lot more cars out there that we don't own and we can't control, and we can't tell people when they're going to replace them. So we can do all we can around EV charging. We can look at different ways of certainly if we become a unitary authority, of how we can get buses to go electric and encourage more people onto public transport and sustainable methods of transport. But in reality, we are going to have to work very hard and persuade people to change their cars, and not everyone's going to change to an electric car by 2025. So there's challenges there. So it's a great strategy because it really puts into context what we can do, what we can drive, what we can influence, and the fact that we're working closely with other organisations and partners to deliver that is also impressive. And hopefully with the government also being committed to tackling climate change, we can continue to make progress and maybe even beat a target, which would be nice. But I think 2030 was always over-ambitious, but what we need to say is we are not diluting our effort or energy, we're just moving the date to reflect where we are in reality and what can be achieved. But it's an excellent strategy. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Gavin. Anneli.
Thank you, Councillor Tomlin. I think this is an excellent strategy, and thank you to the officers. I think they've spent an enormous amount of time, and as Councillor James says, affecting those areas where we can influence. However, I do have a major caveat, and that is there are 4 things. 1, this country only produces 1% of the total carbon in the world. 2, the Labour government has increased the number of houses that we have to have in this council by 2042 by 25%, and population and numbers of houses are such that that increase is so significant, the impact on what we're trying to do is going to be very difficult to square. Thirdly, we mustn't do anything that prejudices the success of our businesses in our borough, and therefore we have to be reasonable. And fourthly, it is a truth that a lot of our residents might want to support the strategy, but when they are faced with solar panel farms right next door to them, or turbines, or nuclear power stations, they don't want them. And those are the 4 realities. So I think it's an excellent strategy, but I think we have to bear in mind those 4 very significant issues as well.
Thanks, Anneli. Anybody else? Okay. Just a couple of points to round up. I think in terms of this council's own work on its own emissions, it's been a huge undertaking. So I just want to thank the officer team and thank the authorities. Numerous teams around from all the different aspects of all the different things that the council does, all our different responsibilities, because to achieve, I think, what we will achieve next year, and I'm confident we will achieve it next year, is a huge undertaking, and that's a big tick in the box, and that's us doing what we can ourselves within our control, and it's something that many of our partners have spoken about, owning up and taking responsibility. But a huge thank you to the team for doing all of that hard work. We're not there, it's not finished. You don't stop. At that point, you carry on to do everything more that you can do. It isn't a tick in the box and job well done and thank you very much. You have to carry on, and we will do so. I think the important point about this paper, and you've all said it, is that it's a shared responsibility. it can't just be the Borough Council's responsibility to reduce everybody else's emissions. It's just not going to be a reality. We either all do this together in reality, understanding the consequences and the needs and the policies that go with it. And as a part of that, one of the key points is national leadership. None of this is going to happen without national leadership. And one particular example that gives us a point to what many of our residents are living through is the energy crisis and fuel poverty. The amount of residents who are in fuel poverty in our borough remains a key issue for many. So unlocking the market, delocking the market from gas and electric linked to renewables becomes really important. Separating those out is something that could happen under national leadership that would make a huge difference to people's bottom line on their bills and where they get their energy from. So everybody has a part to play in this. It's not just one or the other. And the 2045 target is a reflection of what the whole borough can do. But I just pick up what Chris said. We're delivering already a 25% reduction in the borough. So I want to thank every resident, every group, every business, every voluntary organisation, everybody who owns a building, a piece of land, chooses to change their life in a way that makes a contribution, because you have all delivered that 25% reduction. So that's a really important message. Not just the council, but everybody has delivered that 25% reduction over those years. And that's a really important something to celebrate. And everyone should be really proud of what we've managed to achieve as a borough. It's blatantly obvious that Glasgow, Leeds and Brighton can do it as a unitary authority, because they've got all the levers under one roof that they can pull in unison to achieve a much greater result. We are a district council and a two-tier structure. And I would love the county council to take this issue differently. And on many occasions, actually, on many of the things they do, such as the local nature strategy, they are stepping up. And on lots of other things, they're not. But that's what partnership is. And you'll find that with lots of other organisations where they are able to do bits of it, but not all of it. And that's part of this relationship building and achieving the end result that we all want. So just to be absolutely clear, there is absolutely no inaction on this administration's part or on this council's part, because this is all 54 of us. There was a task and finish group represented by each group of this council took part in that task and finish. They endorsed this approach and supported this approach, understanding the detail within it and understanding the challenges that we all have. So the other point to finish on really is to say this is not about virtue signalling. This isn't just some nice thing to have. This is a strategy with meaningful targets that we seek to meet. And that's the point. There's no point having a fig leaf that you're never going to get to. We actually need to drive this. And if we can make it by 2030, all well and good. But if it's 2045, and if it delivers on the basis of the kind of things we're talking about here, that we can take people with us, then all the better. So I commend the strategy. We've got the paper before us, colleagues, and we have the recommendation. Are you happy to endorse the recommendation as is printed on the order paper? Agreed? Thank you very much, everyone. Moving on to the next item on our agenda, and thank you, Miranda and Andy, for your contributions. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, I've got two more public speaking pieces for Andy. So what I'll do is I'll take those papers first and be okay. On item 8 is the housing assistance policy. So if I could ask Laura if you'd like to introduce the paper, if that's okay, we'll do that one first, and then I'll ask Andy to come up and say his piece. Over to you, Laura.
Thank you, Lisa. This report requests Cabinet to approve and adopt the Housing Financial Assistance Policy 2025. The policy outlines the Council's approach to addressing housing quality and standards across the Basingstoke and Deane. The key provisions in the Housing Financial Assistance Policy include targeted financial assistance for disabled facility grants, discretional home improvement loans and low carbon loans and grants. The key changes to the policy are the disregard of war-related income when completing a means test of a disabled facilities grant, also providing financial assistance to help palliative care residents return home from hospital by enabling necessary home adaptations. There is also a slight uplift in maximum low carbon loans. And finally, the new initiative for the provision of a relocation grant to assist families with some of the costs associated with moving home when the current property cannot be adapted to meet the needs of a disabled member of the household. I would like to thank those organisations that took part in the consultation and Resident Services Committee for their scrutiny of this policy. I'd like to also thank the team that have worked in the council in this area, and they do an amazing job, as I've said before, and are well thought of by residents. We don't have a waiting list for our disabled facility grants, and the satisfaction of residents is exceptionally high. I think it's actually 100%, and with such positive feedback. It is disappointing, though, that county have a waiting list for adults and children's assessments. But I'm pleased that they are now investing in OTs to carry out assessments and get these lists down, as we have 345 adults on the waiting list for an OT assessment within the borough. I recommend this report to you.
Thank you, Laura. Andy, would you want to come up and do your bit?
Thank you, Leader. I'll be a lot briefer this time. I give a cautious welcome to this paper. My understanding is that we've got discretionary funding where the mandatory funding isn't able to do enough to help people in need. It's quite telling, isn't it? We've got a waiting list of 345 people. I'm just wondering whether the amounts that are there for individual cases, knowing how expensive some of these building jobs are now, are going to be enough to actually make a difference. And could we explore getting more money into these things by means of developer contributions, where we're having private housing schemes that are giving SEAL or Section 106 money? Maybe we can get developers to help turbocharge this scheme. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it is disappointing about county and their waiting list, and we also have a waiting list for children, and I think the figure for the children is significant as well. I think it's I think we've got 345 on a waiting list across Hampshire, so it's high, but the reality is it doesn't mean that all of those people on the list will need a discretionary housing grant, but what they do all need, everyone on those lists needs an OT assessment to determine what their need is. So that's the priority, is that county does their job and assesses. Once we receive that assessment, we don't have a waiting list, and we process those. And if there is somebody that's in priority need, they get assessed first, and we get the support that they need. In relation to budget, when the budget is meeting need at the moment, so there is no need at this stage to look at additional budget. When we use our budget, there's normally not much left, but we actually use it, and unlike other boroughs, we do use it to its full, but we're not saying that we've run out yet. If we do, then we need to think about that, but there isn't a need at this stage to do anything as suggested, Andy. But I mean, you wouldn't believe how amazing this team is and what they do. It's quite incredible. And it would be good if people, spent some time and actually looked at what their work that they're doing, because I think you'd be so impressed.
Thank you, Laura. Colleagues, anybody else? Okay, we have the recommendation on page 46 of our papers. Are we happy to take the recommendation? Agreed? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leader, and good evening, Cabinet and visitors. Since June 2023, the Cabinet, working very closely with our officers, has been reviewing the previously approved 2022 Town Centre Master Plan by Allies and Morrison. That plan set out a bold macro vision for the regeneration of Basingstoke's town centre and the Basing View business district. Over the past 18 months, our officers have worked tirelessly to engage with major FTSE 100 companies and investors. And their efforts have generated genuine enthusiasm from the market and an enthusiasm to partner with us to deliver and indeed to enhance the master plan. The focus is clear: to create vibrant, mixed-use spaces with new homes, leisure, culture, Grade A offices and higher education. Together, these elements will drive economic growth, strengthen our skills base and support the infrastructure needed for a thriving and a modern Basingstoke. In charting our way forward, officers have carefully evaluated a full range of delivery models: doing nothing, in-house delivery, land disposal, a traditional joint venture, a wholly owned company, and the model that we are recommending today, which is the investment partnership. We are advised that entering into an investment partnership structured as a commercial limited liability partnership with a private sector investor provides us with the flexibility we need. It offers shared risks and shared rewards, no exclusivity on sites, agile delivery through multiple developers, and we are advised that it allows the council to maintain control and benefit from substantial value uplift. Based on the advice we've been given by officers and experts alike, we believe this model is the optimal structure to accelerate regeneration. It avoids the lengthy timelines associated with a traditional joint venture and unlocks holistic placemaking, external expertise, fresh investment and alignment with the council's priorities. Quite simply, it is the best way forward to convert our vision for the town and the Basing View business district, into a real world delivery. Our ambition is clear: enduring prosperity for our residents and for our business community. The level of market interest we've already sparked is fantastic. Today we seek approval to progress with the investment partnership model and to begin a transparent partner selection process subject to further legal and procurement advice, and that's very important. Once this paper is approved, officers advise us that they will move very swiftly to prepare the proposal pack to go to market, and our indicative timeline targets partnership commencement by September 2026. Whilst I have an aversion to hiring yet more external consultants, this is an area on which we do need external advice. External consultant support will play an important role in ensuring we get an alignment of our Cabinet strategic objectives and the successful delivery of our council plan priorities. And let me be absolutely clear: beauty and design must sit at the very heart of this partnership project. Beauty and design must be a central requirement of the procurement process that the officers will launch. Basingstoke deserves and demands a genuine wow factor. We are located in a borough surrounded by a significant amount of wealth, and we have exceptional access to transport by both train and air. Our future success depends on attracting that wealth to be spent in our town centre and invested in our business district. We want people to choose Basingstoke not just because it's convenient, but because it's compelling. This Cabinet, together with our officers, holds high aspirations for Basingstoke, for her residents, for her businesses and for her future. Sadly, this council has a trail of failed partnerships and bids going way back when. I've been a councillor for nearly 18 years, and it's a litany of failures. The Leisure Park and New River, Mews, Basing View, Master Plan 2010, promises of fancy regeneration at the station approach, development of Fanham House, all back in 2010, 2017, Many Down, 1996. So we've been here before. This time it's different. We have an outstanding chief executive, an outstanding senior team and some top officers, and they assure us that they can and they will make it happen. This approval sets in motion the delivery of one of our key priorities, and by next year our officers will secure an investment partnership with a top company investing in the town centre and Basingview Business District. We want Basingstoke to be perfectly positioned to reach for the stars. Thank you.
Thank you, Annalie. Andy, do you want to come up to the... And can I just check with you, Andy? There is a pink paper, so I presume you're not going there on that one. Cool. Yeah. I didn't think you was, but I needed to ask.
Well, I'm not going to discuss financials or specifics with companies or things like that. I'll give this a cautious welcome. I just noted that in the Gazette they just announced another company moving into Grosvenor House today, which is a welcome move. Will this strategy include that piece of land between the town centre and Basingview? So what is going to happen between Waitrose and Normandy House? And one of the problems with Basingview is we've got a dirty great big roundabout between it and Festival Place. So that affects the pedestrian connectivity between the two. So what could we do to make better connectivity between Basingview and Festival Place?
Yeah, Councillor McCormack, thank you very much, and that's a very useful contribution. I mean, the framework is the master plan, which was approved in 2022. But the beauty of where we're heading is that we're looking for a really top-class partner who, together with us, will work, and I made a very purposeful reference to a macro vision, into the reality. And you're absolutely right, connectivity is absolutely key. I mean, I brought this folder here, because this is a folder from 2017, and you cannot imagine the detail of what was going to be delivered back in 2017. It's just staggering. I've got a map here of all these amazing things that were going to happen. New office blocks and beautiful, you go straight out of the railway station and Normandy House was going to be flat and it was all going to look stunning. And we've just got to make sure that the structure, and we're being advised that this structure with a MIP, a master investment, is the best way to get something to actually happen as opposed to just talking and not actually having anything delivered. Because it doesn't matter how many legal documents you have and how many beautiful fancy maps of what you're going to do, you could actually achieve it. So we together hopefully are going to make a massive difference, and the team that I have in the cabinet are extraordinary. So the combination of the support that I have from this cabinet together with the support of, as I said, the chief exec and his outstanding senior leadership team is such that I'm very hopeful that we this time will deliver instead of all the previous promises that have been made to our residents and our businesses alike.
Thank you, Annalie. Colleagues, anybody else want to? Go on, Gavin.
Yes, I welcome this. Like Councillor Cubitt, we joined the council at the same time, so we've got memories of the 2007 town centre master plan that was then. There was a central area, no, it was a central area vision, I think, in 2007. Then it was the top of town master plan in 2014. On both occasions, we got lots of nice pictures, none of which ever took shape. And then, of course, the same happened in 2021 with the new one, which has come along, and it's a lovely picture. But none of it's actually happened. At some point, we have to get away from once every 7 years getting new pictures drawn of our town centre and what it could look like and deal with reality. And this paper does exactly that. It gets a partner in that's got the financial clout to really make things move and happen. And I think extending that out to Basingview is absolutely appropriate. We know the market's changed. The days of companies wanting to put their European headquarters and build a building from scratch are gone, and it now takes an investor to build the building and then rent it to companies who like to have shorter leases and have more ability to move and change office spaces and shapes. And again, this lends itself to that. And I think Andy's completely right about trying to increase the connectivity through from Basingview into the town centre. Always tricky because very busy road route. The underpasses aren't particularly attractive and regularly get graffitied, which is quite annoying. But you'd need to have quite a lot of development to generate the money to then incorporate that as part of the scheme, which is something we'd have a good look at doing as it goes through. So I welcome it. It sounds to me like just as we did with Benny Down and Ice Rink and all the other things that haven't moved anywhere, we are an administration that gets things done, and I think this is the next stage of getting something done in Basingview and the town centre to continue its improvement journey.
Thank you, Gav. Anybody else? I think this is another statement of our intent, and quite clearly, actually, Gav is right. I'm just thinking of the delivery piece, actually, because you come into administration and you want to make sure that the priorities you have are delivered, and the criteria has always been, you set your council plan, you set your direction of travel. You then work really hard behind the scenes with the officer team and our partners to deliver. And that's something I think that in each one of our portfolio areas we've been doing in the past 2 years. 2 years of an administration so far. It's halfway through the local plan, the council plan so far. One of the very first things we did was secured the AA. That lease was really important. We secured them and kept them in Basingstoke in our brand new office block, delivered by Plant, delivered by those investors who turned Plant into something really special and understood Basingstoke because they understood what that building was as Mountbatten House historically. So the beauty piece and the design piece that Anneli referenced is really important. Packaged living have come along and now they're delivering residential on Basingview, but that's part of the changing environment we are in. And not everything is static, things do change and we need to respond and be agile, and that's part of this decision, the desire to try to be agile in a market that is moving while keeping our principles really, really clear. The other point about connectivity, and again, that's absolutely right. All the plans in the world only work if people move through and are part of and are supportive of what we're doing. So the idea of connecting Basingview all the way through, including the sites that Andy referred to, is really important. The station links, the malls links to Festival Place are critical. The new owners of Festival Place, I mean, that investment they've made, now seeing Mango open, we've seen the Super Bowl come in, we've seen the top deck have far more footfall, back to 20 million footfalls a year. Massively impressive in terms of what they're delivering. We're not doing it on our own. We're doing this in partnership with people. This is about setting up a partnership that will, we hope, deliver. We've got to shape it and we've got to be on top of it, and we will be. And that's very clear. We did it before when we brought Festival Place into being. Years and years and years and years and years and years ago. That administration then, working with the officers, with those investors, achieved that. We seek to do the same again. And I would just say that one thing that comes across loud and clear from our business community is their faith and support for what we're doing, because they also see the future of North Hampshire, and in that sense all of the levers required to deliver on this coming under one roof. One of the strongest arguments for a North Hampshire unitary authority is our business focus and what we can deliver on economically in terms of not just for us, but Farnborough and Aldershot and Hearty equally so, both our rural and urban economies. It's all mapped up in this. It's all linked together. The pieces of the puzzle all need to work. And that's where our heads are at. All of these pieces of the puzzle need to fall into place. And one of the key things that we can do to achieve that is to win that battle for a North Hampshire unitary authority with all those levers under one roof. So again, thank you to the business community who have been very supportive of the direction of travel we're going in. This is a reflection of our intent to do and deliver. So thank you very much to the officer team for coming forward with the proposal and Anneli for bringing it forward as Cabinet Member. Colleagues, you have the recommendation in front of you. It's on page 154. Are you happy to say yes? Do we agree? Agreed? Thank you, colleagues. Right, going back to the main agenda and moving to the top of the agenda where we would have started is the first item 6, Q2 Capital Monitoring Report. Gavin.
Yes, this is a regular quarterly capital monitoring report. Unfortunately, there has been some more slippage in schemes, so we are underspent at the moment by about 3.25 million, but that's not money that is being saved, that is money that is going to be spent at a later point. Obviously, we go through these things with a fine-tooth comb to understand why. It's listed in the report. Some things are down to circumstances beyond our control, such as the fire at the Maidenwell Pavilion, which means that our work is delayed whilst we deal with insurers over the damage that was done by vandals. So that's down to that situation. Some bits are down to perhaps some of our scheduling. For instance, some of the car park works in Basingview probably should have been scheduled in a later year, given when we acquire the sites. But say they are being reviewed, but all schemes will go ahead. It remains fully funded. There's no major changes to that scheme. So this is just for noting. And it's not going to council this time because there's no changes in it.
Thank you, Gavin. Colleagues, we have the recommendation in front of us. Are you happy to take the recommendation? Any more comments before I... No? You happy to take the recommendation? Okay, agreed. Thank you. Item 7, Gavin.
This one, we're halfway through the financial year, and this relates to the revenue budget. We are currently underspent by £30,000, which I think in the context of a sort of £47 million budget is actually quite an achievement. So congratulations to the officers and well done on that. There are a few challenges in there, but offset by some wins we've had in terms of investment returns. But at the moment, the revenue budget is going along very well, and there's no in-year panic going on in our finance team at the moment.
Thank you. Any comments, colleagues? We all good? The recommendations on page 32, are you happy to say yes? Agreed? Agreed. Final paper this evening then is paper 9, which is proposed use of section 106 capital funding. Laura, that's on page 79 of our papers.
This report seeks approval to utilise £300,000 of unspent affordable housing Section 106 contributions to support Vivid Housing Association to acquire 9 socially rented homes in Whitchurch, Overton and Laverstoke, Evingar, Oakley and the Candovers. In return, the council will secure 100% of nomination rights in perpetuity. The Section 106 monies are time limited, and this 106 expressly requires the funding to be used in rural parishes. Stock rationalisation between housing associations is a mechanism to avoid loss of older social housing stock to the open market, which we do not want to see, as there is a clear need for rural housing. I'd like to thank SNG for being open to such an arrangement, and in particular a big thank you to Vivid Housing Association for this small-scale acquisition. This is a demonstration of good partnership working. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Colleagues, any comments? Nope. Recommendation is before us on the paper. Do we agree as such? Are we all agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. There is nothing else on the agenda this evening. I'm just going through and checking. No, we are all clear. Thank you very much indeed for your attendance. Thank you. Take care. And happy Christmas to everybody who's watching.